Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel and thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having an absolutely fantastic weekend. In today's video, we are doing a complete short-term and high time frame analysis for Bitcoin, going over the key immediate levels that you should be watching, potential short-term moves moving into the weekly candle close, and why the upcoming week is going to be a week of mass importance. We are also going to briefly be going over the recent cataclysmic correction for the S&P 500, being that of the largest weekly red candle we have seen since the COVID correction in 2020. Before we get into it, make sure to smash that like button, hit that comment button, and of course subscribe to the channel. You can also join us on Telegram with the links down below. We post daily videos focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, nothing but pure raw TA. Again, if you are interested in more of that content, join the Telegram, link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. And if you are interested in joining the VIP channel, you can do so by clicking the pinned comments, contact our admin, watch our 10-minute video showing you inside the VIP channel itself, and check out the 50+ month trading track record. You'll get access to 2 channels, the main VIP channel with over 700 members, and of course you'll also get access to our group chats, the general chat, the trading chart and education chat, the news, the help, the daily video, and community setup chat. Check it out, guys. We'll see you in there. Let's jump into the content. So as we can see, guys, a pretty stagnant weekend for Bitcoin as we are bouncing essentially between that low range of around 81.5k and a recently established local high developed at around this $84,000 to $85,000 region. So with some sideways chop into the weekend, Bitcoin is really preparing for a pretty interesting week ahead. If we take a look at the weekly chart over here, we can see that 50 EMA is destined, or it is bound to cross that downtrend on the week of the 14th of April to the 21st of April. So we're looking around 2 weeks here until, or a little bit less than 2 weeks, until we get that 50 EMA cross of the weekly downtrend. And we know that the 50 EMA is going to be the trigger for the loss of the 44.62 on the RSI, which we'll be explaining in much more detail today. So essentially what I'm trying to show you here is we're coming close to a major decision time for Bitcoin, where it's going to either see a replica of what we saw on the S&P 500, which is an extended correction toward the downside and a violent correction of that matter of fact, or we're going to see the buyers step back in and push the price over 89,000. This has to happen essentially before the 14th to the 21st of April. So we don't have much time left for Bitcoin to make a definitive directional move. So it's more likely we end up making that move closer and closer to this apexing point. So I do think this week is going to be a pretty important week for Bitcoin. Let's take a look, guys, at that short term very briefly. As you can see, not too much happening here on the short term. Looking at the market data, we can also see that the volume and the liquidations are beginning to drop down. Again, as we approach and enter during the weekend, we do see volume and liquidations end up dropping, with volume down 55% at 122 billion and liquidations down 53% at 116 million. Moving over to the DXY, the DXY did see a pretty brutal drop here, actually momentarily dropping below the 200 moving average, but managing to close a weekly back above it. Again, this is all sparked because of the trade war developing between China and the US, with China imposing more tariffs on the USA, as they announced they were even imposing even more tariffs. So a lot of tariff trade wars going on over here, causing a bit of a stir up in the strength of the dollar, resulting in these wild fluctuations. Of course, this did also spill over into the S&P 500 here, as more fear and uncertainty is pushing the risk asset market down, which is expected. We did see the S&P 500 fly all the way down to $5,100 here, actually breaking below that first initial bearish target of 5,300. If you have been following the channel, guys, you would know that I have been bearish on the S&P 500 essentially ever since 6,000. This is when we turned bullish over here in 2023, and this is where we turned bearish at around $6,000, and we've been calling for 5,300 ever since around about December to late November 2024. So I've been one step ahead of the market over here. Again, We need to see a lot happen here for the S&P 500 to turn bullish. It will take many, many months now for this bearish pressure to be absorbed to the point in which we're going to see high time frame confirmation for reversals. With that being said, it is highly probable we do see some degree of mean reversion after these violent corrections. And this is where it opens up the potential for a bounce of Bitcoin, because if we do see mean reversion toward the upside in the new week, which is essentially after these volatile directional moves in one way, we generally see some degree of buying pressure occur or opposite reaction in the direction which the price moved against. So we're generally going to see some sort of move toward the upside in a new week. That is more likely than not. And if we do see that, we may see Bitcoin show some strength as well, as it has held relatively well in regards to the S&P 500 dropping a significant amount. Now, we do have to remember that the S&P 500 and Bitcoin are not 100% correlated. Okay, they share a correlation coefficient of around 0.7, so we can't expect them to move in the same direction at all times, but the general macro trajectory is going to be more or less the same. So it doesn't infer the exact weekly moves are going to be the same, but if we look at the direction of Bitcoin, it has been downward. If we look at the direction of the S&P, it has been downward as well. So the overall macro direction is generally the same. So we may or may not see Bitcoin have a similar reaction if we do see mean reversion, but it is something that is potential. So looking at the S&P 500 here, we are looking at support in this 5,000 to 5,100 level. If we do drop below here, well, then we are expecting the 200 moving average and a retest around 4,700 to 4,800 as the next target. Now, it could take a week, it could take many, many weeks to occur, or we might not see that. So we do have to watch to see how the price action reacts in the new week. But until we break through this downtrend in the RSI, we are remaining relatively macro bearish on the S&P. That is enough of that, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into Bitcoin. Now, before we do, make sure to sign up to the links down below to BitGet, BitUnix, or BingX. Those of you exchange links down below, you'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15% of all your trading fees, which can build up to 45% based on your trading volume. You'll support me making the content, and most importantly, you'll support yourself in your trading journey. So check it out, guys. We'll play an ad and we'll jump on right back in. If you are looking for a new exchange or just want to support the channel, sign up to BitUnix with the link down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45% based on your trading volume, as well as access to a bonus reward center, and of course, all of the exclusive campaigns we run on this exchange. You'll also get access to BitUnix being a non-KYC exchange, meaning you can sign up from anywhere in the globe without regulations. And most importantly, I only promote exchanges I trust and I use. As you can see, I trade on BitUnix very regularly, being the highest VIP level with over $500 million in trading volume for the last 30 days. And lastly, if you were interested in signing up to our other two exchanges, BingX or BitGet, you can also do that via the links down below. You as well will get the 15% trading fee discount and everything else that comes with it. Go ahead and sign up. Thank you for supporting. Let's jump back in. Okay guys, let's go ahead and jump back into it, and we are starting on the higher time frame chart. So I want to show you something from a technical perspective on the 3-day and the weekly, but first and foremost, for the new viewers, we need to define what is happening, we need to contextualize what is happening, and discuss the significance of the critical levels such as the 44.62, the 50 EMA, and the horizontal levels of importance. So first and foremost, guys, it is very clear Bitcoin has been in a downtrend now for quite some time. If you've been following the channel, you would know that I turned bearish at 106.5k, having sold out basically everything I owned, Bitcoin, altcoins, everything in cash, and I've been sitting in cash ever since. That is, of course, after my buys of 16.5 and 18,000. My initial sell point was 96,000, which I did actually take an initial sell. I actually sold out everything. I then rotated to altcoins and rebought Bitcoin around 104, then selling at 106. So we did exit a little early, but we jumped back in and caught that final move toward the upside, exiting and turning officially publicly bearish, and we've been so ever since. And the whole premise behind that move, and the whole premise behind the current move, is you have to trust the trend until it ends. And the reality is we are trading now based on an invalidation method. So that means Until we get the confirmation we need that the trend has reversed, we expect the downward trajectory to continue until that confirmation is in place. So the confirmation we need for a reversal here is going to be, very simply, a weekly close above 89,000. The reason we say 89,000, that is going to be the horizontal level of resistance, as we can see, which we have been challenging now for around about a month. But most importantly, what is now current resistance was once prior support. So this level of prior support, the 2.5 month long prior support, is now a level of critical resistance, which is acting as a trigger point for the trend to shift toward the upside. Until we break through that level, that is going to be representative of a bearish trend. So at the moment, guys, we need a weekly candle close above there. With the weekly candle close above 89,000, we will also see the weekly breakout of the RSI, which will confirm a positive momentum shift, simply suggesting that the selling pressure that has been developing through the downtrend since 106 or 110k has been absorbed and the buyers are back in control, telling us that the sellers are unable to push the price lower on this attempt. Again, confirming the fact we could see a reversal. Now, if we take a look at those two things and look at the prior price action, we can see historically we have had, since we entered the bull run, consolidation periods spanning multiple months. And during these consolidation periods, we saw a pattern. Number one, we retested 50 EMA. We can see instance 1 here, instance 2 here. Number 2, upon the 50 EMA retest, we created the bottom on the 44.62 on the RSI. Again, number 1 here and number 2 here. And after the 44.62 on the RSI was retested, we broke the RSI, resulting in an expansionary move toward the upside. Again, a consequence of the RSI break was a positive momentum shift, which facilitated a directional continuation upwards. So while we remain above 44.62, that is a possibility, however, it is not confirmed. So this takes us to the other point. The significance of 44.62 is not only that of a major support, but it is that of a bearish trigger to confirm a directional continuation lower, similar to what we saw on the S&P 500. So if we take a look at the S&P 500 very quickly from a horizontal perspective, and we look at the RSI, we can see we had an equal low over here developing on the RSI right over here, okay? And what we saw was this low was eventually broken, resulting in a strong correction toward the downside, actually dropping below this prior level of support, indicating a major negative momentum shift occurred, which then resulted in this price action to follow suit. So what we are seeing here is how horizontal levels in the RSI can act as trigger points for directional continuations, more so how these prior lows on the RSI, which represent prior lows on the price action, if taken out while the price action is sitting above those levels, could represent the price in the current moment is massively overextended in terms of what the momentum is suggestive of, which could result in a direct continuation toward the downside. So we do run the risk of these large moves and very violent moves, mind you, toward the downside if we lose this horizontal support, because the loss of this level on the 44.62 would equate to the loss of the horizontal support, which we have now been developing over the past about a month, as well as critical levels such as a 50 EMA and other critical levels such as what we'll show you in a second here on the 3-day chart, that being the Ichimoku cloud lower band, and of course, if we go to the Gaussian channel, the Gaussian channel lower band. So let's take a look at these two over here, guys. So not only are we developing major support here at that $80,000 region, this is a critical support, we'll discuss this in a second, major support, okay? We have got the 50 EMA, we have got the 44.62, so it's 3 points of support right there already, okay? And if we go over to the higher time frame chart, we can now see as well, we've got the lower band of the Ichimoku cloud, which we've actually essentially remained above, right? We broke through over here, okay, we remain above the entire time, this entire time we've sat above that lower band. We momentarily drop below right here, okay? Again, this is a wick, doesn't count. We momentarily close one candle below it over here, which was deviation, resulting in then a reversal toward the upside, and we've remained above this entire time. If we drop below here, it could confirm that we are entering a steeper downtrend. So that is a very important level we are watching on the 3-day, and then if we factor into Gaussian channel, the Gaussian channel lower band essentially lines up with that level as well, confirming again the fact that we will enter a higher time frame downtrend if we do break below this level. So we have got a whole truckload of confluence sitting, resting on the shoulders of the momentum over here in regards to what happens with this 44.62 on the RSI. And if we extrapolate this a little bit to a bigger time frame and we look at the weekly chart for a second in terms of the Gaussian channel, we can see that 50 EMA is getting very close to apexing with the upper band, meaning that a loss of that 44.62 would result in the price action penetrating the upper band of the Gaussian channel, which historically has resulted in strong corrections which take us underneath the lower band. So that opens us up to a target of that 200 moving average, which sits up with the sell side liquidity at 55.5. So what am I trying to say here in layman's terms, to put it very simply? If Bitcoin does not have a strong reversal which takes it over 89,000, we could drop as low as 55k. Okay, these are backed in data. We can support it through the charts and support it through historical price action. 55k is a very possible target if Bitcoin cannot reverse through 89k within the next 2 weeks. It needs to happen. It has to happen, okay? So let's look at the short term. This chart really does hold the key to what is going to happen on the higher time frame. And the reason I say that is because we have established now a horizontal consolidation with the range high and the range low being that of which are major macro triggers. This level over here, the 81.5 to 80k, is essentially the 44.62 on the weekly, okay, the RSI. This lines up with that level. And the 89k horizontal high is lining up, or is the $89,000 weekly and daily resistance, which we need to break above. So we can see how the price action has been bouncing now between these two levels in a period of indecision. It's building up liquidity. It is trying to make a decision in regards to where it wants to go. The price action between the high and the low is more or less irrelevant, okay? We can swing up, we can swing down. At no particular price point between the high and the low are we at any more of a statistical advantage for a break up or a breakdown. Only upon the actual break of the high or the break of the low do we see a probability shift in the direction of which we see the break. So it doesn't matter if the price climbs up over here, that doesn't change the probabilities for a break of 89k. It doesn't matter if the price climbs downwards or drops downwards to 81.8, it doesn't increase the probabilities for a loss of 80,000. Okay, it is only upon the loss of these levels do we see high time frame probability shifts for each of those directional continuations we discussed. So it is highly, highly, highly important we watch these short-term charts. And we've talked about now the importance of both of these levels. Let's dive into a smaller time frame and discuss what is happening immediately. So at the moment, guys, Bitcoin, as we can see, has been chopping slightly toward the downside over the weekend. We haven't been establishing new higher, lower highs. Well, we have been establishing new lower highs. We've got a high over here, a lower high here, a lower high here, under the 200 moving average. What we need to see Bitcoin do to be confident we are going to attempt to swing back into these highs, we need to see this high here taken out. That is sitting around 84.5k. If we fail to do that, but instead break below this uptrend we have developed, we are going to see a correction back towards these lows. Okay, so we have this triangular apex occurring, developing into the 8th to 10th of April. If we break the low, we continue down. If we break the high, we're going to break and retest the support and then determine whether or not we see that continuation or we see deviation and back down. That is it for the short term, guys. I'm not going to overdo it on the weekend. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you had a fantastic time enjoying. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll catch you tomorrow for the weekly candle close. See you then.